Welcome to the 210 Nerds. As always, my name is Max James, and in this episode of the 210 Nerds Presents, I will be sharing my DVD slash Blu-ray slash TV collection. I have a lot to get through, so I'm just going to jump right into it. Each video will be categorized by a genre. So this first genre will be horror, since I have so many horror movies. I've covered a good portion of these in my 31 Days of Fright horror movie project, so I don't have to go too in depth, and I'll just show you what movies I have. So the first movie I will be sharing is The Thing, directed by John Carpenter. I love this movie. It's one of the few horror movies that I watch every Halloween, regardless. I do have to say that some of these movies aren't technically horror. I just think that there's some horrifying elements that happen in this movie, so that's why these are in there. So it's because, like, House at the End of the Street with Jennifer Lawrence, I thought this movie wasn't too bad. Glass House, I haven't watched that movie in forever, but it was pretty decent. American Psycho with Christian Bale. This is the uncut version. I love American Psycho. The Tripper, this movie is directed by David Arquette. I just think this movie is really funny. It has quite a bit of an all-star cast between Thomas Jane and Pee Wee Herman and Jason Mewes, and you'll recognize about everyone in this movie. Even David Arquette kind of shows up in this movie at some time. I think this is the only horror movie that I have not seen. Is Fear.com. I've had this movie in my collection for years, and I have yet to kind of sit down and watch it. I know it has Brad Dourif in it, and it has something to do with an online website or something like that, but that's about it. Cabin Fever, Eli Roth. This is one of another movies that I watch every Halloween just because it's good horror. Then Cabin Fever 2. I bought this movie when I think one of the video rental stores was going out of business. I'm like, I snatched it up. So, keeping with the Eli Roth theme, Hostel. It's the unrated version. This one I have to talk about a little bit, because when this movie came out, everyone was just like losing their mind over how bloody and gory and stuff like that was, and how much nudity and sex was in this movie. And I'm like, all right, I didn't really faze me all that much, even though there was a few scenes that was quite intense, like the cutting of the eyeball and stuff like that. I thought that was actually pretty intense. I did like that. And then Hostel Part 2, I really liked how it followed women this time around instead of the guys. I liked that little change up, and there was some pretty good twists, and I like Part 2 just as much as the first one. And then Return of the Living Dead. I love this movie. This is just great. It's probably one of the best zombie movies out there. I'll kind of get into what ones I think is the best. And then Silence of the Lambs. I watch that movie whenever. That movie I can watch any time of the day, or any time of the year. And then Doom. This is I went and seen this in theaters. This is the uncut extended edition. It has a few extra scenes, but nothing really major. But The Rock's kind of playing the bad guy in this movie. Then this is Let Me In. It's the remake version. I do want to get the original one, Let the Right One In, but I've yet to watch this one, which I've been meaning to put it on the 31 Days of Fright project for a while, but I keep taking it off for some reason. But this year I am definitely putting it on. Then I got the Deaths of Ian Stone. It's one of those 8 films to die for horror fest things. I can't quite exactly remember what goes on in this movie. It's been a very long time since I've seen it, but he dies quite a few times in the movie. You got next up is Slither. James Gunn, who recently directed the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Slither is probably this is probably one of my favorite horror comedies in a long time, because this is just extremely funny. Has good music all the way around. And then we got Jeepers Creepers 1 and 2. I did this for the 31 Days of Fright this past last year. most of these you can go back and find a review for them, but these are just good movies just to pop in and watch. The same with Otis. It has some pretty funny moments in there. The music, actually, I'm surprised it has some pretty decent soundtrack to that movie, but I'd recommend it just for at least one viewing. And then we got Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I know this movie. I like this movie because it's like two movies in one. Because the first part of the movie starts out kind of actiony with Arnold Schwarzenegger and his team kind of going into this village and trying to rescue hostages or whatever, and then you find out that some more things is going on. Then Predator, that's where the sci-fi horror genre kind of comes in, because it's an alien and he's stalking him, and it gets some pretty intense, and it's Arnold Schwarzenegger fighting an alien. You can't really get any better than that. Then Stephen King's Rose Red. I think this is a TV movie or something like that. It's kind of, so I haven't seen this movie in a long time, but I can't really talk about too much about that because I don't remember much of it. Then I went and bought this 4-pack at my local Dollar General because I wanted this movie right here, Brain Scan, because I absolutely love Brain Scan. Fright Night, Craft, and Monster High. I've yet to watch Monster High, so because I was going to add it to my 31 Days of Fright horror movie list for this year. Then I got AVP Requiem. I like this movie, but the only big thing is this movie is so dark, it's not even funny. I watched this movie in a pitch black room, and I still could barely see what was going on screen. That's just how bad it was. And then we got AVP, the first one, Aliens vs. Predator. This is the unrated version. It kind of has a few extra scenes at the beginning and kind of stuff kind of sporadically put throughout the movie, I think. And then, and there's really no other F-bombs that are dropped in. It's like that one scene where she should have dropped the F-bomb but didn't, and I'm like, oh, that was such a wasted opportunity for the unrated edition. And then we got Seven, Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, talking about the 7 Deadly Sins. This is a great movie. This is one of the, this is David Fincher, so I have about all of his movies. I'll kind of get into more of those later when I start doing the Blu Ray parts. But 7 is just, fantastic. Then I got Santa's Sleigh. I really did an extensive review on this one, so I'm like, just Bill Goldberg playing Santa Claus, and he goes around killing people. This movie has one of the best opening scenes ever. I'm not going to spoil it. Then we got Midnight Meat Train. This was very surprisingly good. I just bought this on a whim, and I thought, oh, I like Vinnie Jones, and I think it's Clive Baker who did some of this stuff. Yeah. So, based on a Clive Baker story. So, I was like, I like this stuff, and I like Hellraiser, and just the movie has Bradley Cooper in it, and I thought that movie was really good. I was very surprised. And then, got Return to Newcomb High. I put effort into getting this movie because I like the trauma movies, and I just think they're just extremely funny. And gory and just obscene, and just you have to have those kind of movies in your collection sometimes. And then we got Poltergeist, Night of the Living Chicken Dead, another trauma movie. Oh, this is the 3-disc collection. I bought this at Best Buy. I was just cruising the Best Buy movie selection, and one day I'm like, oh my god, I've seen that, and I'm like, yes, had to buy it. It's just about chickens who this fast food restaurant was put on an Indian burial ground, and the chickens come back to life and start killing people. It's just really funny. It kind of turns people into chicken zombies. So the next one is another trauma movie, is Citizen Toxic 4, Toxic Avenger 4. This one is the R-rated version. I didn't realize that there was a couple different versions of this movie out, but I don't regret buying it because there's a documentary on the disc 2. I think, how long is it? It's like an hour and a half documentary on how they made Toxic Avenger 4. I think that was worth the buy just alone because I like watching their behind the scenes stuff so much, because Poltergeist has one like that. It has a big documentary on how the movie got made. I love watching the trauma documentaries on how the movie gets made. That's just fantastic. Then we got The Mist. This is a 2-disc version. It has has 2 different versions of this movie, directed by Frank Darabont. You know, who has done other Stephen King adaptations, Shawshank Redemption, and as well as Green Mile. This one has the black and white and the colored version. I always watch the black and white version of this movie because it just makes it feel scarier, and it adds a kind of an older feel to it. It kind of feels like an old sci-fi movie, but it's horror. But I really like it. I always watch the black and white version because it just makes it seem better. It is better. And then with the recent passing of Roddy Piper, this is hands down my favorite John Carpenter movie. I've said this once before. It's They Live. It's the movie where he puts on the sunglasses and he can see aliens that are walking among us. It has the classic line, you know, like, I'm here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum. And that's Roddy Piper improvised line right there. And then the next one is another horror fest film, Dark Ride. This one is very special to me because I actually rounded up a bunch of friends to go see this movie in theaters, and we had a lot of fun seeing this movie. So this is why I probably will never get rid of this movie, just because I know I had a lot of good times. I had a good time seeing this movie with my friends.